Righto, doing old mate's front coupling, centre bearing on the tail shaft, and just trying to work out with a lowered car which way would be the best way to attack this. We decided to jack up the back end. Well, as actually he suggested backing up the back end first, and it's actually turned out to be a good idea. So you put the stands underneath the back. Now that the back is up and out of the way, so to speak, well, we've still got plenty of room for the jack to go on the front, and that was my concern. If you jack up the back or you jack up the front, one side or the other gets lower, and would the jack still fit? So jacking up the back first is definitely the way to go, because when we tried it the other way at the front, we couldn't get anything under the back. Once the front end was up, the back end was way too low. So do the back first, and now we're going to jack the front up and put some stands under the front wheels to get the height we want and get under the car. Right, to get the front up, what I've had to use a smaller jack, because it's just this part of the big jack just wouldn't go under. Got a board there. That gave us the height we need to get some ramps underneath there, and then let the jack down a little bit again for safety measures. I don't want to get under the car and play any dangerous games. So very good to go, and get that shaft off. So we've got 6 10mm that we need to undo from the back, which means that one of the wheels has to be lifted up again, because picking up the front, the back wheels have come back down. So I'll loosen off what I can there, and then I need to turn the tail shaft against the other ones. Then we'll remove this part of the tail shaft here. Then we'll focus on undoing the bearing, and then I'll undo the coupling on the front. Now I can only tell you what I'm doing here and showing you. I can't video and do it at the same time. It's just not enough room, and too time consuming trying to fire up the camera every single time I need to do the next bit. So that there looks like they're all 17 on the front coupling, but we'll take it out and view it from the outside. Right, so I was able to take the whole shaft out, one piece. I thought I was going to undo the coupling first and drop it, and probably, if you don't want to lose any transmission fluid, probably remove the coupling but leave the spline inside. But I mean, like, hardly any fluid came out, so it wasn't that big a deal. What I'm going to try and do is undo that nut there to get that part of the shaft off the spline there. And if you wanted to, you could leave this part in, like undo the coupling, so you don't lose any fluid. Barely any fluid came out anyway, so it's not that big a deal. The correct way to do this would be to remove the uni first, but we don't have a new uni to put in there to replace it with, so, and there's nothing wrong with that uni, so we're just going to focus on trying to get this nut loose, get that separate, replace that bearing. Alright, well, this is an interesting one. So 24, too loose, 23 won't fit. So the correct size of that nut would be 2932, but you can't get a spanner of that size. And trying to get that off with a 24 or even a 15/16, I'm just rounding the nut in there, and I don't want to do any more damage there. So we're taking the uni out, replacing it with a new one. I'm not going to make a video on replacing the uni, because there's like a million videos out there, and it'll just make this video longer for no reason. So that's what I'm going to do, replace the uni to, well, we'll show you the next step once we get the uni out, changing that bearing and progressing. Okay, so now I've got the uni off, just want to show you here. So 24mm is actually, with the socket, it's fitting on nice and snug, and I think it's because I've now got a bit of lip on the nut itself. But I already got it loose before I started recording, so I could show you a bit of movement. So that's just going to slide straight out of the shaft there, and I can just do a swap on that bearing. But if I can show you quickly the play on that 24, well, I already did, but there's a lot of play on that 24. I might take the side that's damaged. Yeah, there's a lot of play there. It's a bit smaller than 24, a bit bigger than 23. And amongst all my tools, I don't have anything that goes that in between size. Okay, so just take note of this. So the rubber part there is going to the front. You don't want to put it on backwards, which you could probably easily make that mistake if you're not paying attention when you take it off. So I'm just going to clean that up, and then we'll put the other bearing on. Right, so with a wire brush, I've just cleaned up around the area, put a rag over the front there. I didn't want to scratch anything there. I'll put this back on. It's as easy as that. Now, like before, I'm going to hold this in place with the vise, not squeezing it, just the vise is like a third hand. So with the coupling, just taking note which way it's on, just follow the same pattern there. I honestly don't think if you put it on the wrong way, because it's going to end up being the same anyway. So if you was to put that there, long part out there, and you just switch it around, you get the same deal. So set back a bit to say, you can see the bits coming up, that's that way to the shaft, but I'm just going to copy what's the same way what's on there. All the nuts are to the front, so there's no bolt coming back the opposite direction. See how you got the bolt coming through this part here, and then it's going onto the coupling here, but then you got the bolt which is pressing against the part of the coupling there that's not the same, and it's not addressing it here the same way. So I believe the bolt's got to go this way on that one, and the bolt's got to go that way on that one. I don't think this has been installed correctly. Now at some point, undoing all these nuts and so forth, this end of the shaft might drop. I don't want it to get damaged, so I just put cloth over that, obviously. Okay, so let's have a look what's going on here now. Why would somebody choose to do that? Well, there's a seat to go into there, which is not seating anyway, and so that definitely goes that way into that direction there, and that goes into that way there. So that's all that's indicating there. Those little marks is just indicating that that goes to that point there, and those go to those points there. So that is the correct way around. Or like I said, you could go this way if you wanted to. Bring that lined up. Yeah, so it goes onto there, and that one will go onto there like that. But we'll keep the same thing going on. Don't need anything special there. So we'll put the bolt through that way, but we're going to do the nut on the opposite side. No, not like that, dickhead. We'll put the nut on the opposite side, so that gets the surrounding it needs on that. I'll just put all them in so it's all lined up. And this one here will go on like this. That would be the correct way to do it. I don't know if I showed you properly, so I'll bring the camera up close. The reason why I believe this is because I've done a lot of couplings on different cars, mainly Toyotas and Holdens, but the reason being is because when this Now if you put the bolt right, see how the flange on that nut goes right around there, and you've got proper coverage there. Now when you put this on the opposite way around, you've just got the head of that bolt, and that's not how it should be at all. So the coupling was on correctly, the bolt's not. Okay, so I'm not going to be happy with putting the nuts and bolts back on like that, so I'm just going to put a little bit of copper anti-seize on the threads, help these go on nice and tight. Actually, you know what, I'm not happy with that either. This will make me happy. We've got the bolt on that side, nut on that side there. I can already see a difference. With this side here, the ends weren't seated properly, so that wouldn't have been any good either. Ready to put that back under now. Now the very last step, I'm going to feed this through, but I'll try and have the camera on me if I can, but I'm going to use a bit of the transmission fluid, or gearbox oil if you wish, to lube up around here. I'm just going to do it by hand, so make sure all my hands are clean before I do it, which I'll have a rag underneath there with me, just to lube it so when I push it back on, it gets past that seal without damaging the seal. Alright, so I'm just going to put the camera here and go underneath the car and get busy. There. So I've got the cloth taped on, so I don't want it to slide off until I'm ready to take it off. Okay, now I'm at the point of the shaft here that needs to go in. So now I can take this cloth off. A bit of oil there. Put that around that. It's just a matter of lining it up properly. Didn't matter which way, I was finding a happy place for it. I had to give it a bit of a wiggle, get it into where it needed to go. She's in now. There's a couple of spaces on this, little spaces here for this rear mount, or the centre bearing mount, sorry. Get that in place first. Not just loose. Okay, that's happy there now. Son of a gun. There we go. And you've got these mounts, not mounts rather, spacers that go in like that. Alright, so I don't have old mate helping me today, so I need to jack up that one wheel a little bit because the front end went up, back end came down, back wheels are touching the ground and I can't turn the shaft with both wheels on the ground, so I need to just get the little jack and pick up one of the wheels so I can turn it. Now not too much, just enough to get the wheel off the ground. I don't want to pick it up off of the there like that, it's just enough. Okay. I have a feeling this has a welded diff. Could be wrong. It's just you turn one back wheel, both back wheels turn together. You turn the tail shaft, both back wheels turn together. So I wonder how she goes in the wet. Does she slide? I'll have to mention it to old mate. Alright, I'm going to get the impact wrench and tighten these up. Just to help get the long bolts through. Just give it a bit of a I don't want to thread them, you know, but they're pretty long. And it's just a little bit tricky to feed them through that first stage. I want to get them all in first before I start tightening up. I don't know if I've mentioned the front coupling at 18mm. The back of the tail shaft is 10mm, the center bracket is 10mm as well. I don't want to just go ahead and start putting these in too fast. I want to make sure that I'm not threading them. So let's go for a little bit like this. Yeah, that's nice. Get this inside. Okay, that is that. Get all the tools and everything up from under here. And bit of advice to the younger, bit of advice to the next generation. Get yourself battery tools. Don't wait, because I was probably in my 40s when I started getting all these power tools and everything. Before that, I was doing everything by hand, and I was quite happy to. But it's so much quicker, like you saw there, so much quicker to use a power tool than sit there for 10-15 minutes doing one bolt at a time. And you can see that. So I've got even though I've got the ramps and all that, I've still got the jack underneath it as well. Just that extra support. And I'm going to let it down a little bit, and the car's going to come down a little bit too, because the jack is holding it somewhat. But I need to get the car just a little bit higher to take the ramps out. Because it just wasn't quite high enough. So old mate and I kicked the ramps underneath, so it was almost high enough, just wasn't that last little bit. So now that I'm by myself, try and make life a little bit easier. Okay. Now obviously when I let this jack down, it's not going to go all the way to the ground, because you've got the timber there. And let it down gently. Damn jack on so quick. Alright, so now it's resting on the jack and timber. And that's what, I'll do it from the other side so you can see. And that's what this jack is for. Get it that last little bit down. So I'll just pick the car up enough on this side. Make sure that I'm on the car, not next to it. There you go. Put this guy down. And it's the front done. Well, don't forget the handbrake. So I've got steel caps. I'm good. Never leave home without them.
my head.